Most people can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. And I'm going to teach you guys how to store water so you have an abundance on hand inside your home and give you different options and variations of how you can purify water when your water runs out. Because we all know when a storm hits, that water is the first thing to go. Whether it is a grid down scenario, a cyber attack, or a hurricane, we know that water is going to be the first thing that always disappears. Why water is the #1 prepping priority? Well, you can stock all the food you want, but you can't cook it without water. A lot of people do not think about that while they're prepping. A lot of your food needs to be rehydrated or cooked with water. Municipal water is not always a guarantee. Whether it's a blackout, a storm, or a cyber attack, your water most likely is going to end up shutting down and you will run out. Remember, when the water and the tap water stop flowing, that is when panic sets in. And you're not going to be one of those people who freak out because you don't have water. All right, so let's talk about the basics of water storage. You need 1 gallon per person per day. A half a gallon of it is for drinking water and a half is for hygiene. All right, let's talk about basic water storage for you and your family. You see this 55-gallon drum right here? This is only an 11-day supply of water for me and my family. This is a drum I'm about to get ready to fill up, and let's break it down. Each person in your family needs 1 gallon of water. Each person, 1 gallon per day, minimum. If you have dogs or chickens or horses, you're gonna need to store up a lot more water. I have to store up a lot because I do have a lot of animals and I do have a big family. So let's talk about the basic storing methods. You have all of these items you can see in front of you. You have your basic 1 gallon. These will not last very long and you're gonna want these to be rotational. Same with your water bottles. They're not for long-term use, but if you need to use them and it's been past, a year, you can run them through a filtration system similar to this. Whether it's a Berkey, a water machine, you can run it through a filtration system to remove any of the microplastics that are inside. When you're breaking down your 1 gallon per person per day, that also includes a little bit of water for you to start cooking, cleaning, some basic hygiene, but you're gonna wanna conserve as much water as possible. One of my favorite methods that is completely portable is these jerry cans. You see that there is 2 6-gallon jerry cans right here, and I'm gonna show you guys how I clean them out and how I store them for water so that we have extra water on hand when we need it. But since we're still talking about the basics of water storage, we need to understand how long we can keep our water. Preferably, I like to rotate mine every 6 months. I go through it. If I have extra jerry cans, I use them in the garden. Then I clean them out and I refill them. I set a little timer inside my phone so I can really stay on top of it. That also goes for my drums and for our water sister that is out on the property too. Making sure that I have clean water storage is top priority because you can't drink it if it's not clean. And if you don't know how to purify your own water and filtrate your own water, you're gonna run into some problems. So we're gonna break down some basic level filtration. Let's talk about one of my favorite purification methods. It's gonna be bleach. Now, I want you to make sure that it's not just any kind of bleach, not your splashless and not your scented bleaches. You want just regular old bleach, all right? And what I do on all my bleach containers, my big ones upstairs are even written out the same. I write out what you need to purify your water. So for 1 gallon, I need 8 drops. For 5 gallons, I need a half a teaspoon. That's all I need to add into my containers. So for this jerry can that's sitting right next to me, it's 6 gallons. I know it's gonna be a half a teaspoon plus 8 drops of bleach to purify the water that's in here. Now, bleach is not the only option that you have for purification. So let's go over a few of the others. While bleach is really easy to do home purification, it's not always the easiest when you're on the go. Plus, bleach degrades over time, so you're constantly having to replace it. So ultimately, there's other ways that you can go about it, and you can go into more in-depth videos on how to do it with making your own bleach, but I still get really nervous when I do that. That's a skill that is above my level, so I'm gonna tell you, I don't do that yet. Let's hope that I get some time to be able to do it myself. One of the oldest of all time is boiling your water. Boiling your water to remove bacteria outside of your water. Now, for me, when I boil water, when I'm on the go, I like to run it through a filtration system, which I have a ton of filtration systems right over here. Whether it's a filtration Sawyer water bottle, a Go-To, a Life Straw, or one of the Sawyer minis, I prefer to purify and filtrate all together. Now, another one that's really easy on the go is these Aqua Tabs. Aqua Tabs are awesome. They're small, they're convenient, and you just have to just drop one in and all the work is taken care of. You don't have to do the bleaching method. However, these don't always work the best for larger containers, so I like to tend to go to bleach instead. Another easy method to purifying your water is the portable Aqua. It's a chlorine dioxide water treatment. You have a part A, a part B, and I use these ones when I'm actually doing my larger containers because it's very easy to do the math. They have it all written out so that you can break it down of what you're going to need. So let's go back over the containers. First, you have your store-bought containers. These are your store-bought water. They have a short lifespan and the containers are not very sturdy. Now, the problem with these containers is light can get through, which then can cause problems for your water. One of the reasons why we go to the bluer containers, the darker containers, is to prevent the algae growth. So store-bought containers, they're still good. Your water bottles are great to have, okay? But those are short-term water storage. Now with more sturdier containers, we got our jerry cans. Our jerry cans, these are the 6-gallon ones. They are sturdy and they are portable. And I use these a lot. So in the next 2 weeks, I go on my hunt and we are going to a location that we do not have water. So a lot of my 6-gallon jerry cans will be coming out with us because we need to have water. They're sturdy, they're easy to rotate, and they're also extremely easy to store in your home. Whether you are tight on space, you don't have a lot of space to work with, you can store these in the back of your closet. You can store them underneath your couch, behind your couch. Just make sure that they are sealed properly. Then you got your 55-gallon drums or much larger water containers, and those are much harder to store. You're gonna need an area such as your garage, your basement, any kind of a larger area to have them, and they are definitely not portable. Some of them, if you attach them to the back of a trailer like what we do when we haul in water, that makes them more portable, but they're still extremely heavy. So these have a less portability, but they're very sturdy and they store a lot more water. Now let's talk about building a layered water plan for you and your family. So for every person in your family, you're gonna wanna have a filtration system. That is very simple, whether it's a Life Straw, a portable water bottle that has a filtration system. All of those little tiny things that we have talked about are great to have. But also in your bug out bags and in your get home bags, you're gonna also want some purification, which is similar to like the Aqua Tabs. That's one of my easiest favorite ways to have purification and water filtration all in the same go. Now for my home, I have a Berkey and I also have a water machine. These are fantastic. They're a larger water filtration method and they take a lot longer for water to be filtered because it is going through a gravity style fed filter, but they work perfect. So if water is questionable, if it's a boil notice, you can boil your water, and then I prefer to run it in through there. Now I'm on city water here and our water is highly chlorinated. Does that mean that I still need to purify these when they go in? No, but for my own preference, I prefer to purify my methods by using bleach. Very simple. So I'm gonna show you really quickly how I do it with this jerry can. Now, this one is brand new. The first thing I want to do is clean this container. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this container up and I'm gonna pour some bleach inside of this container. You don't need a lot, but a couple tablespoons will do. Next, I'm gonna add in about this much water into the container. Now that I've added some water inside of this, is it ready? No, absolutely not. I'm going to put on the top, I'm gonna put this spout right back in, I'm gonna tighten it up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake the water. I know that the sound is gonna be really rough, but I'm going to shake the water around, make sure I get into all the handles. We want water inside the handles. We want to make sure our plug is good. And then what I do is I actually let this sit for about 20 minutes to sanitize. Then I'm going to run water back through it, rinse it out, and then refill it with water. Now, when I'm done rinsing this container out and adding in my own water into it, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of bleach and 8 drops. And then these 6 gallons are purified and it is ready to be stored for 6 months. Very simple, very easy. Now, a very easy way for you to keep track of how much bleach you need to purify is take your bleach bottle that you have at home and you're gonna write water on one side, bleach on the other, and then it's gonna say 1 gallon, 8 drops, 5 gallons, half a teaspoon. Very simple. Add that onto your bleach bottles. Then you're 10 steps ahead when it comes to purifying your water. You don't have to go research what you need. You'll have it on every single bottle. Now make sure that your bleach is not scented or the splashless, okay? Those are not the same. You want regular bleach, just plain old bleach. Very simple, just write it on your container so that when you do get a new jerry can that you want to stock up on or a larger drum, you already have the math done. You already know how much you need and it becomes muscle memory. The more you read it, the more you see it, the more you know on it. Storage buys you time. Purification keeps you alive long after your storage is gone. Water isn't optional, it is life. And if you don't create your own plan for water when things happen, you're gonna end up in the same line with all the other panic buyers and it's gonna be too late. Remember, during a crisis, if you're 5 steps ahead, then you don't end up in those lines and you don't end up dependent on a system that just doesn't work. So if you guys like this video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button, share it, hit that subscribe button if you feel like it. But making sure that you have water ready and available is very important. Now let's talk about our larger containers. Whether you have 750 gallons of water storage or 55-gallon drum, let's talk about some options you have for when you're filling those up. I highly recommend that you get a water hose, not just like your everyday garden hose. I prefer to get the one that's at the RV and it's designated only for water. I don't attach it to my outdoor faucets at all. And if I have to attach it to an outdoor faucet, I do attach a filtration system on it. Ours is currently over at the property right now, but you can get one of those little filtration adapters that attaches right to the hose. Very simple. I'm going to try to find some photos for you guys in this video, but then I attach it and then I use it to fill my larger containers. Why would I say that you want to use a different hose? Well, first thing that happens with water, a lot of people don't realize, is water doesn't expire. Water gets contaminants, and that's what makes your water expire. So when you're filling up larger drums and you're having to use a hose, say a hose that's attached to your house, and it is out there, you have the sun that degrades the hose, you have bugs, you have dirt, all kinds of things get inside of it, and then you're putting that right into your water storage. So I prefer for people to go and get a designated, I have a fly in my kitchen. I have been canning nonstop for the last 7 days, so just bear with me on the fly. But making sure that you have a designated hose for your water is pertinent, especially when you are storing larger volumes of water like what we do. So when we're hauling in water, we still use the hose that we have designated for drinking water to transfer from one container over into our larger containers, and we like to attach a filtration system to it. It's very easy. You can find them on Amazon. I can find some to link into this video so you guys can see, but it's very easy and it helps prevent getting contaminants into your water system because you don't know how clean that water is. You don't understand that those contaminants can ruin an entire supply of water. So that's one of the reasons why filtration and purification going together make magic happen. Anyways, if you like this video, please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button because remember, filtration and water purification is something very important. You can stockpile food all the way to your ceiling, but if you don't know how to store your water, have any water storage or filtration, then some of that food is going to go completely useless. And as we enter into storm season, whether it's winter storms, blackouts, hurricanes, water is always the first thing that's always missing from the shelves. Everyone goes and gets their water bottles all stacked up and there's nothing left. And I don't want any of you guys to end up being in a line in the store, because when a crisis happens, you only have a few split moments to make a decision. And a lot of people don't want to end up in a store purchasing things because there's an emergency about to happen or it already has started to happen. You want to be 10 steps ahead of the game. That's why we're here. This is what we do. So as always, stay aware, stay prepared, and always have your head on a swivel. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and tell me what kind of water storage you guys are working with and water filtration systems. I like all different types and I use different types, but hopefully you guys like my trick with the Clorox bottle by writing your dosages down on there for purification so that it becomes muscle memory, and every time you see it when you're doing laundry, cleaning, you recognize it, you see it, and you start making that a core memory, so you don't have to go and get on Google, look at your phone, or try to look it up in a book to find out how much you need to purify your water. It just becomes muscle memory. And as always, a fun little quick tidbit about the way my family used to store water, because things have sure changed over the times, and I love that we are always improving as we grow in the prepping society. But fun fact, my family used to store water in bleach containers. I know this is a fun, weird fact at the end of the video, but my grandma used to clean out like old 2-liter bottles and old bleach bottles. So what she would do is after she was done using bleach, she used to rinse them, and then they were already sanitized, similar to the way I just sanitized that jerry can. And then she would fill it up with water, and then she would add the corresponding amount of purification that she needed and stored them in the basement. As we started clearing out our old house, we found probably 20 different jugs of bleached water that had been, tucked behind a shelf, so that if somebody came to take your preps, which is a possibility in the prepping world, that somebody could come and try to take your preps, or the government could come and try and seize them. She would store them behind bookshelves, behind canning shelves, all kinds of things. And we found some old ones. We found some from the 80s. We found some from the early 90s. And she was really good about her rotation, but I think some of those slipped by her. But not a lot of people know that you can store water in things like this. I don't recommend it. I recommend investing more into your water storage, but that is one of the old time ways that my family used to prep. So I hope you guys enjoyed that fun fact of how we used to store water. I hope you guys go to more new ways that are awesome and amazing, because you have so many different options. You can use different pump systems to get your water out on here. Some of them have the little spouts on the side. I prefer the ones with the spouts on the side. This one does not. But you have a variety of ways to store water, and you can be very creative with your water storage and really hide your water storage so that people don't know how much you do have stored up. As always, have a great night, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.